Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Arundhati Ramnan and here are the top headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The price war in the SUV market escalates. Tata Motors and the Mahindra Group slash prices of their leading SUVs within hours of each other. M&M stock declines over 6%. Company clarifies that demand remains robust and there is no concern over unsold inventory. Even as SUVs get cheaper, the price of gas, insurance and paints get dearer. Sources say leading life insurance companies have hiked term insurance premiums by up to 10%. Berger Paints and Asian Paints have also hiked prices by up to 1%. A late recovery pairs some losses on Dalal Street, but Sensex drops below 80,000. Nifty declines by over 100 points. Revenue headroom for the government ahead of the budget to balance fiscal consolidation with growth measures. Sources say North Block has a revenue cushion of at least 1 lakh crore rupees. The government may announce a new scheme to boost medical device manufacturing in the budget. Sources say the focus is likely to be on improved quality and reducing India's dependence on imports. Ad price controls may be one option to keep devices affordable. That's a CNBC TV18 exclusive. Reserve Bank of India red flags misuse of internal accounts. Deputy Governor Swaminathan says lakhs internal accounts being used as a conduit for fraud and evergreening of loan accounts. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets a musical welcome to the land of Mozart. This is the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Austria in over 40 years. Amidst growing regulatory scrutiny, Microsoft withdraws from the board of OpenAI, giving up its observer seat. Reports suggest Apple has also dropped its plan to join the board. From Meerut to Paris, an in-depth look at the Olympic journey of 31-year-old Annu Rani. The Asian javelin champion is raring to go for gold at the Paris Games. Let's start with all of the market action of the day. A late recovery helped pare some losses on Dalal Street, but despite this, the Sensex dropped below the 10,000 mark, losing over 400 points. Nifty declined by over 100 points. Banks and auto stocks led the decline. The Nifty Auto Index was also down over 2%. Meanwhile, earnings season is upon us. TCS will kick things off with the first quarter earnings tomorrow. According to a CNBC TV18 poll, dollar revenue is seen growing up over 1%. Margins are likely to come under pressure, with the poll expecting it to shrink by 150 basis points to 24.5%. This is largely due to the wage hikes, which took effect in April. Profits are likely to be down by nearly 4%. And earnings aside, a big cue for the market is potential moves from the central bank this year. What will the RBI do? Well, you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth tomorrow. Lata Venkatesh will interview the RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das live and exclusive right here on CNBC TV18. Moving on to the auto sector, the price war in the SUV market has escalated. Two of India's biggest competitors, Tata Motors and Mahindra Group, have slashed prices of their leading SUVs within hours of each other. Parikshit Luthra joins us now with the latest. Parikshit, what's driving the SUV price wars?
Well, it's a mix of factors. Clearly, the sales in May and June at a retail level have been low and lower than expected. And this has created a high amount of inventory in the system. In fact, the Federation of Automobile Dealers telling us that there is 60,000 crore worth of inventory lying unsold. That is roughly 6.5 lakh cars with a ticket price of 9 lakh rupees each in the system currently. So they've been worried about this inventory, which is of 62 to 67 days. So clearly, the heat wave that we had seen, the elections that we had seen had slowed down demand in the market. Now you've got the monsoons, the sowing season, also an inauspicious period of Shraddh that is observed in many parts of the country. All of this put together makes it a weak Q2 outlook at this juncture. And therefore, there is a need for price correction, which is why many automakers are making that limited price correction for a few months in order to exhaust that inventory. On the other hand, how the markets have taken it, that there is weakened demand in the market, which is also possible because the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers has been saying that this year could be muted demand or muted growth just because of a very high base that we had seen over the last 2 years. The pent-up demand is now over, and many are saying that the supply constraints are gone and we're now heading into a buyer's market. This kind of competition we haven't seen in the last few years, but clearly there are a lot of options in the market. Companies are slashing down prices aggressively, and this is what is leading to those discounting wars. Not just these two companies, but be it Maruti Suzuki, Renault, MG Motor, Hyundai, all of them are resorting to discounts, and some companies also giving discounts of up to 3.3 lakhs on cars where there is an oversupply.
So Parikshit there with the latest on the SUV price wars. Thank you so much for those details. But staying with the auto sector, Uttar Pradesh government has scrapped registration charges on strong hybrid and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. This will allow buyers to register their hybrid vehicles without paying the hefty road taxes. This is an amendment to the state's existing EV policy, and the relief will be valid till October 2025. The decision will reduce the final cost of vehicles like Toyota Innova Hi-Cross and Maruti Suzuki Invicto by over 3 lakh rupees. Maruti Suzuki chairman R.C. Bhargava said he expects the state to extend the policy beyond 2025.
Well, I'm sure the UP government will take into account that although the policy was originally framed and I think intended to be implemented from 22, it's actually come into effect 2 years late. And that could be a consideration which they might take into account next year when they're nearing the end of the period of 25.
On to a CNBC TV18 exclusive. India's leading life insurance companies have increased the cost of term insurance policies. Sources have said that HDFC Life, Max Life, Bajaj Allianz and Tata AIA have hiked prices by up to 10%. Yash Jain joins us now with the details. Yash, take us through the price breakdown at this point.
Term insurance expected to get costlier for its policyholder, and the price hike is coming from industry leaders here. What we've been given to understand is that large life insurance companies have taken a price hike of anywhere between 1 to 10% on the term insurance portfolio. Just to name a few of these companies: HDFC Life, Max Life Insurance, Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance, Tata AIA Life Insurance. All of them have taken this price hike on the term insurance portfolio. Also, what we've been given to understand from our sources is that ICICI Prudential Life is expected to take a similar kind of price hike when it comes to its term insurance portfolio. Now, just to break down individual company-wise, HDFC Life Insurance has taken about 10% price hike on the term insurance side, but this is only for the age group of 60 years and above. Term insurance forms about 5% of HDFC Life's total APE, but that 60 years and above section will be much smaller for the company. For Max Life Insurance, they've taken a price hike of anywhere between 1 to 6% across age groups on the term insurance side. Term insurance forms 9% of Max Life Insurance total APE. Bajaj Allianz taking a price hike of 1 to 6%, term insurance forming about 6% of Bajaj Allianz Life total APE. And finally, Tata AIA Life taking a larger amount of price hike, anywhere between 3 to 10% on its term insurance portfolio. ICICI Prudential Life Insurance expected to take a similar amount of price hike, that is about 3 to 5% on its term insurance side. 4 key reasons: inflation adjustment. Second one, increase in tier 2 and tier 3 term insurance coverage. Third one, underlying cohort changes. And the fourth one is reinsurance prices have remained firm at elevated levels and haven't come down. But in hindsight, this amount of price increase on the term insurance side will also help these life insurance companies offset that impact, the negative impact which will come because of the cost of the higher surrender value which came about last month.
Right, Yash. Many thanks for those details. Now, it's not just insurance. Paint companies are also hiking prices. Berger Paints has announced price hikes of up to 1%. Sources tell CNBC TV18 that Asian Paints has also hiked prices, which will take effect from the 22nd of July. Remember, Asian Paints had slashed prices by nearly 4% in the March quarter. Shares of Mahanagar Gas rose in trade after the company raised prices of CNG and domestic PNG. Speaking to CNBC TV18, Mahanagar Gas Managing Director Ashu Shingal said that industry expects some excise duty rationalization in the upcoming union budget. He added that there is also a possibility of gas being included in GST.
The budget is passed and what is included in the budget or not. The other point which we are hearing is maybe the gas can be included in GST. Because if that so happens, then excise duty cut will not be required. It will be one tax regime for the gas segment itself.
Less than 2 weeks to go for the budget. The wish list is only getting longer. Citing higher capex due to 5G rollout, telecom companies have sought some relief on Universal Service Obligation Fund and license fee. The industry wants the license fee to be slashed from 3% to 1%. Companies are also batting for removing non-telecom revenue from computation of gross revenue. And staying with the budget, sources tell CNBC TV 18 that the Road Ministry is likely to get a higher budget allocation of 3 lakh crore rupees as against over 2.7 lakh crore rupees in the interim budget. The government could focus on increasing digitization in the sector with GPS-based tolling and usage of artificial intelligence to detect flaws in roads or highways. As per sources, the government is likely to set a target of 3,000 kilometers of new highway construction. An announcement around future energy-compatible highways may also be in the pipeline. Meanwhile, the government is likely to include a new scheme to boost medical device manufacturing in the budget. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the scheme will be aimed at improving quality and reducing dependence of imports. We have also learned that the government may also impose price controls and a marketing code. Now to a CNBC TV 18 analysis. Revenue headroom for the government ahead of the budget to balance fiscal consolidation with growth measures. Sources say North Block has a revenue cushion of at least 1 lakh crore rupees. Sapna Das is here with all of those details. Sapna, how has the government managed to find this headroom?
Well, as per our own calculations, it indicates that probably they are already sitting on a 1 lakh crore worth of fiscal cushion just ahead of the budget. So if you look at the top numbers, for example, direct taxes, they have grown by close to 21% in the first quarter. And our own calibrations indicate that probably around 25 to 30 odd thousand crores worth of cushion is over there. The numbers are significantly higher than the growth rate actually required to meet this year's target that was set out in the interim budget. That's one. Second, even in GST, in terms of GST collections, well, the first quarter monthly average is now around 1.9 lakh crore, which is significantly higher than what it has been in the earlier months. And Y on Y, of course, the increase is much more. We are not really factoring that in, so to speak, because a large part of that also goes to the state government exchequer. But this is an indication of things to come. In H2, once the economy picks up, these numbers are only likely to get better. Third, of course, you have the RBI dividend, and none other than the finance secretary had indicated very clearly, or told CNBC that around 0.2 to 0.3% higher is what they have got from the RBI bonanza. So that, roughly works out to somewhere around 60 odd thousand crores to 88 odd thousand crores. Now, these are not small numbers that we are talking about. So for a change, after a long time, the government is looking fiscally confident and comfortable as it goes into the full budget preparation. So basically, the option before the government is likely to be that they might do a bit of fiscal consolidation along with some welfare measures. In terms of reducing the deficit, well, if they choose to reduce it by around 0.1 to 0.2 odd percent, this will lower the market borrowings by around 60 odd thousand crores. So that's one option for them. The second, of course, as I just mentioned, a combination of both. So they may reduce the deficit, bring it to around 5 odd percent, lose around 30 odd thousand crores over there in terms of the fiscal cushion, so to speak. But at the same time, also take up some welfare measures. For instance, whatever are the ongoing central sector schemes, all of them are likely to get due attention. But there could be some higher capex, say, for example, roads and railways. Though, of course, capex overall, there's an opinion that it is likely to plateau, so not much of action there. But certain sectors may still continue to get that focus which the central government has been trying so hard. Similarly, in terms of rural development, important ministries like education, health, maybe something for the housing and the solar sector, those schemes are already in place. Something additional can come over there. And also, let's not forget on the tax front, hope is still alive. We can expect some kind of tweak, at least as far as the new direct tax regime is concerned. So putting all of this together, they'll have to do a hard balancing act. And plus, most important, probably the most important takeaway from the budget to watch out is what kind of financial assistance the central government is able to provide to Andhra Pradesh in particular, and maybe to Bihar to an extent. The opinion is very clear out there in the market that both these states are facing structural issues in the economy. They are unable to augment their revenues and their state expenses are far too high. So the center has to step in, and that interim relief is going to be a big ticket number in the budget. So these are the things that we need to watch out for. So despite that additional fiscal headspace that we're talking about, the list here is pretty long and large. However, in all likelihood, consolidation along with welfareism is what Nirmala Sitharaman may adopt on 23rd July.
All right, Sapna, many thanks for those details. But moving on, Haryana Real Estate Regulatory Authority has said the upcoming budget may include housing loan interest rebates for units priced around 30 to 35 lakh rupees. Speaking to CNBC TV 18, Sanjeev Kumar Arora of Haryana RERA has said that the real estate sector is expecting more incentives from the government. Take a look.
There are certain relaxation being given in the lending rates to the home buyer as well as the developers, which will certainly boost and help out promoters and the home buyers as well. And there are certain incentives announced, and further it shall be increased, maybe in the budget itself. And maybe in the budget itself, the real estate sector may be declared as an industry.
And from real estate to hospitality sector, Chayo's founder Nitin Saluja has said that the sector is seeking an industry status for the food services sector. Meanwhile, NRAI President Kabir Suri has said that the industry hopes to get input tax credit on expenses.
For us, a one-window policy, which basically allows us to operate and open restaurants faster. A one-window policy which basically makes things similar in each state. We are one of the industries that do not get input on our expenses. We've been trying to discuss this with the government, with the finance ministry, with the various different state ministers in respect to the various states and the GST council.
We want one nation, one regulation. You know, across states, compliances regulations are very, very large. LG met them yesterday and he's trying to simplify this. So hope that's a welcome move. But yeah, regulations, compliances are very, very high in this industry and we really need to avoid duplication of work.
Our biggest demand is please give food services industry industry status because it's worthy of it given the size. It is in the best interest of the of food services industry for it to be enabled to run 24 hours a day and just open it up from licensing point of view.
And we have a big budget exclusive for you tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. The CNBC TV 18 CII Budget Town Hall. The entire top brass of the industry body will be in attendance and we will quiz them on their budget expectations. Sanjeev Puri, Sanjeev Bajaj, Sunil Kant Munjal, R. Mukundan, Chandrajit Banerjee, B. Tyagarajan, Shenu Agarwal, Vinod Agarwal and many more will be speaking exclusively at the town hall. So keep it with your budget destination for all the big newsmakers and exclusive news breaks. The Supreme Court has rejected Bajaj Auto's plea seeking to remove the cap on three-wheelers in Delhi. The Apex Court held that it can't allow commercial interests to trump environmental concerns. The Supreme Court had directed the Delhi government to freeze the total number of fresh auto rickshaw permits way back in 1997, citing pollution concerns. The city has nearly 92,000 auto rickshaws that are running on CNG, and the older lot of vehicles are currently being phased out. And staying with court action, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear a plea by Adani Ports against the recovery of 108 hectares of land by the Gujarat government. The Apex Court has stayed the Gujarat High Court order directing the recovery of the land. The Supreme Court has also issued a notice to the state government seeking a response. The Gujarat High Court has ordered recovery of land after a PIL alleged losses for the local community. The Reserve Bank of India has raised concerns over banks having lakhs of internal accounts which are being misused for fraudulent transactions or evergreening of loans. In a meeting with chief financial officers and auditors of banks and financial institutions, the RBI also expressed caution against lapses in compliance and audit functions. Ritu Singh is here with all of those details. Ritu, what was the big takeaway of this meet?
Yes, RBI has flagged concerns about instances of potential misuse of internal accounts for frauds and instances of lack of adherence to the spirit of regulations. Now, during an interaction with CFOs and auditors of banks and financial institutions yesterday, Deputy Governor Swaminathan J said RBI had found cases where banks had lakhs of internal accounts with no apparent valid reason, and without naming these banks, he said some of these accounts were used as a conduit for fraudulent transactions and evergreening of loan accounts. Now, internal accounts are essentially accounts that exist within an organization and they're used to transfer funds between various business units. So the Deputy Governor asked these CFOs to bring them down to an essential number and exercise more control over them, given the high-risk nature and the potential for misuse. He also urged bank CFOs to invest more in technology and to generally guard against any misadventure or intelligent interpretation of regulations or accounting standards. Now, at the same event, another Deputy Governor, M. Rajeshwar Rao, also urged lenders to improve the quality of their disclosures, asking auditors to ensure compliance not just with regulations, but also the regulatory intent. Now, he pointed out that the implementation of principle-based guidelines in NBFCs, for instance, has been found to be lacking. He observed that in cases, NBFC's accounting disclosures often merely repeated the text of the accounting standard without giving any real insight into the assumptions or the methods used in calculating the expected credit loss. In another instance, he said ARCs were found to make no provision for management fees and expenses while calculating their capital adequacy. So again, you have the RBI cautioning lenders, cautioning banks to tighten control and not misuse any flexibility in regulations provided to them.
Right, Ritu. Many thanks for those details. Now, coming up on India Business Hour, from Meerut to Paris, an in-depth look at the Olympic journey of 31-year-old Annu Rani. The Asian javelin champion is raring to go for gold at the Paris Games. Details when we come back. Stay tuned. And you can also catch all of CNBC TV 18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. Welcome back. In international news, US President Joe Biden has said that NATO nations will deliver new strategic air defense systems for Ukraine. Speaking at the NATO summit in Washington, he hit out at Putin, saying that the military alliance is stronger than it's ever been in its history. However, any meaningful progress on Ukraine joining NATO is unlikely during the summit.
Ukraine can and will stop Putin. Especially with our full collective support. They have our full support. Nearly 24 allied partners have signed the bilateral security agreements with Ukraine. And more countries will follow. Today, I'm announcing the historic donation of air defense equipment for Ukraine.
All allies agree that Ukraine will become a member, but it's too early to say exactly when that will happen. What I can say is that we are moving together with Ukraine closer and closer to NATO membership, and we do that by concrete actions, because Ukraine's membership is of course partly about the language, the wording. We will agree later today in the NATO declaration about membership for Ukraine, but it's also very much about the concrete actions we are taking to move Ukraine closer to membership.
And staying with international news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a musical welcome to the land of Mozart. This is the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Austria in over 40 years, the last being Indira Gandhi in 1983. PM Modi said he discussed the conflicts in Ukraine and West Asia with Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer. He also reiterated that solutions to conflicts cannot be found on the battlefield. This visit comes a day after PM Modi held bilateral talks with Russian President Putin.
दोनों देशों की युवा शक्ति और आइडियाज को कनेक्ट करने के लिए स्टार्टअप ब्रिज को गति दी जाएगी। मोबिलिटी और माइग्रेशन पार्टनरशिप पर पहले से समझौता हुआ है। यह लीगल माइग्रेशन और स्किल्ड वर्कफोर्स की मूवमेंट में सहयोग देगा।
Microsoft is gearing up its observer seat on the board of OpenAI amid regulatory scrutiny by Europe and the United States. The tech giant said that its withdrawal will be effective immediately. According to Financial Times, Apple has also opted out of taking on the observer role. Remember, the tech major was expected to take on the role as part of a deal to integrate ChatGPT into the iPhone. A union representing Samsung Electronics workers have gone on strike indefinitely in South Korea. The workers are protesting for better pay and benefits. The union has said it made the decision after management showed no intention of holding talks over its demands. Supreme Court has observed that West Bengal government's plea against CBI probe without the state's consent raises issues of federalism. Ashmit Kumar joins us now with the details. Ashmit, what was the court's rationale?
Well, a big leg up coming in for the West Bengal government and a bit of a setback coming in for the CBI from the top court. The Supreme Court has held that the West Bengal government's application that had challenged filing of fresh cases by the CBI in the state is in fact maintainable. Now, bear in mind that the West Bengal government had filed the suit before the apex court, questioning how CBI can file fresh cases in the state when there is no general consent. Bear in mind that the West Bengal government had withdrawn the general consent way back in 2018, and since then CBI has gone ahead and filed 12 new fresh cases. Now, what's important is that the West Bengal government had argued that this is a clear case of constitutional overreach. It impacts the sovereignty of the state. In fact, the Supreme Court echoing those sentiments, observing post the judgment that this indeed, in fact, will have a bearing on the federal structure of the country. What's also important is that the apex court has dismissed the contention raised by the centre that centre and the CBI are two separate entities, holding that in fact one is beholden to the other, and in fact going on to say that as far as the filing of fresh cases is concerned, there is a definite cause of action that has been made out by the West Bengal government. So with that, the apex court paving the way for further hearing this matter and a leg up coming in for the West Bengal government's case against the CBI filing fresh cases.
Right, Ashmit, many thanks for all those details. Now, 18 people are dead and 30 injured after a double-decker bus collides with a milk tanker on the Agra-Lucknow Expressway. Initial investigations show the bus was overspeeding. Mumbai BMW hit-and-run case, accused Mihir Shah has been sent to 6 days of police custody. The accused will face police investigation till the 16th of July. The magistrate court in Mumbai granted his custody to police after the public prosecutor argued that the accused was on the run for over 60 hours, changed his appearance after the accident and is not cooperating with the police. The 24-year-old, who was driving a BMW car, rammed into a motorcycle in the Worli area of Mumbai on the 7th of July, killing a 45-year-old woman who was riding with her husband. Visuals of the crash showed the woman was dragged for 1.5 kilometers after the collision before the BMW was stopped. The Punjab and Haryana High Court has directed the Haryana government to remove barricades at the Shambhu border in Punjab within 7 days. The court observed that the closure is causing inconvenience to general public. Remember, the Haryana government had set up barricades at the Ambala-New Delhi National Highway in February during the farmers' protests. Former Indian cricket team coach Rahul Dravid has declined an additional bonus of 2.5 crore rupees from the BCCI after India's historic T20 World Cup win. As per reports, he was offered a prize money of 5 crore rupees, which is the same as that of members of the Indian men's team. However, Dravid reportedly wanted the same amount as the rest of the coaching staff, which is 2.5 crore rupees. The BCCI had announced a prize money of 125 crore rupees to reward the team on winning the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2024. A rising star in India's Olympic squad is a woman who has beaten the odds multiple times to emerge victorious. Annu Rani captured hearts and the nation's imagination in the Asian Games in 2023, becoming the first Indian woman to win gold in the tournament. CNBC TV 18's Matthew Thomas recounts this 31-year-old's road to the Paris Olympics 2024. Take a look.
From hurling sugarcane stalks to winning gold at the 2023 Asian Games, 31-year-old Annu Rani's journey to Paris is nothing short of remarkable. Rani's strong throwing arm was first discovered by her brother during a cricket game as a girl in UP's Meerut. The future athlete's tenacity and hard work soon caught the eye of national-level coaches, resulting in a debut at the age of 18. However, her father still disapproved of her penchant for the sport despite this early success. That changed in 2014 at the National Interstate Athletic Championships when Annu Rani shattered a 14-year-old record to bag gold. That record was just the first of many, but Annu Rani is no stranger to disappointment. In the Tokyo Games in 2021, she failed to make it past the qualifiers. Following this disappointment, Rani headed to train in Germany and soon after speared gold at the Asian Games in 2023. This made her the only Indian woman to bag a javelin gold in the tournament's history. She is also the first Indian woman javelin thrower to breach the 60-meter mark and has made it to the podium several times through 2023, all in preparation for Paris 2024 and beyond.
अगला टारगेट आपका क्या है? अगला टारगेट तो मैम ओलंपिक्स ही है, तो सभी प्लेयर्स का टारगेट वही है कि दोबारा से प्राउड फील कराएं अपने देश को.
With a string of laurels in hand and some heady ambitions, Annu Rani is certainly an athlete to keep an eye on. In Mumbai, Matthew Thomas.
And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. News continues right here on CNBC TV 18.